Hello, this is Elvi from Comic Book Bin, filling in since 2002. In the last two videos on army building, we've looked at Cobra, building an army with several Cobra troops, how to manage and how to gauge how many of each of them to obtain. And then in the second video, we look at the Joes. And with the Joes, I look at related Valverse Action Force lines that can complement your G.I. Joe army building collection. We've also looked at issues related to size of a collection, where do you store them, and how to be conscious of your budget and limits in terms of how much you want to army build. Today we're going to be looking at the Iron Grenadiers, the Tracksuit Mafia from Marvel Legend, which I've been using with my Joes, a few ninja lines from both G.I Joe Classified, Swoosh, and even Marvel Legend. And finally, we're going to be looking at the Valkyries, the female Cobra Troopers from the G.I Joe Classified line. Let's do this.
So this is the full Iron Grenadier army, including Destro and his main henchman, Scrap Iron here, and obviously Metalhead. I've always felt that Metalhead was a modernized version or updated version or replacement for Scrap Iron, but Scrap Iron, even though he wears a Cobra uniform, is often associated with Destro and Mars, which is the company he uses to build all those weapons. Now, the Iron Grenadier that I mentioned in part of my army building, I've got less Iron Grenadiers than I would say Crimson Guards, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. The Iron Grenadiers are Destro's personal guard. He doesn't have as many of them as the Crimson Guards, who have their own literal private army all over the place, infiltrated around the world. So I don't have as many of those guys. Now we've got Iron Grenadier bats here, and we saw in the latest Skybound comics that they can't quite control the bats, but we have those Iron Grenadier branded bats. Those are obviously not for sale to Cobra and other villains around the world, and they have the fancy chests, which we'll probably see soon in the retro version of the Iron Grenadier. Destro is a fancy kind of guy, and Destro likes to show off his wealth a bit. He's not very humble about what he has, so that's why his bats are gold-plated. They're the first ones to have the glass-based chests. He's almost daring people to say, shoot them and see what happens with them when you shoot them. Now, the version of Destro I've got is the original Destro from 2020, not even the remake, the very original one from the first wave of G.I Joe Classified. It's amazing how G.I Joe Classified has evolved since. I've never bought the Profit Director Destro. It was on sale several times, but I never bought it. So I still have this version of Destro. I don't intend on buying another Destro, but who knows? So my Destro will have the silver-plated head. In terms of Iron Grenadier, this is the Iron Grenadier that I've got. I've got 3 of them. I'm not going to buy any more of them for now. Why? Because I'm pretty sure that Hasbro will release a version of the Iron Grenadier for the retro line. And instead of having those overall coats here, they'll probably have black pants like the original one, and they won't have long coats like that. And possibly they'll have Uzis, just like the original one. So I'm waiting for those. The Iron Grenadier, like I mentioned, they're not like Crimson Guards, which are stationed across the world, often lying dormant. The Iron Grenadiers are tradesmen. They go into countries to make deals with people to sell them arms and so on. But there's less of them, and most of them are probably Scottish in origin or close enough. So that's why I don't have as many of them as I would have, say, for the Crimson Guards. So only 3 of them, but I'll be getting more of those guys, and that will be enough for me for the future. Now, if you've been reading the Skybound comic, you've noticed that the Iron Grenadier in the Destro comic are a real force to be reckoned with, and I like how they pitted them against the Crimson Guards with the twins, Tomax and Zema, and even Astoria from the old Transformers cartoon, and they've named Astoria Chameleon. Now, Chameleon, if you recall, was the alternate name that was given to the Baroness in the action figure line in the early 2000s or late 1990s when they lost the trademark to the Baroness, so they called her Chameleon, and Chameleon was supposed to be the half-sister secret agent of the Baroness. I like that they made Astoria a new Chameleon character and a separate character also. Hopefully we'll see an action figure of Chameleon soon, but I've taken my movie Baroness and I've made her Chameleon. I still think that this version of Destro looks great with the Iron Grenadier. With the gold chain here, there's no need to get him the gold-plated head. This one will do for me for now, unless, I don't know, it comes with a Disporter or something that I really cannot say no to. This version of Destro should be the only one I will get for now. I don't usually like to get double of named characters, it's kind of weird in a sense because I like army building, but I don't like to buy like say two Dukes or two Destros or two Cobra Commanders, even if they're different. I like to buy only one of them and say that's the one I'm going to be having for my collection. Now I think they all look good together, and I guess when I get more retro Iron Grenadier, they'll look even better. But that's a collection so far, and I'm pleased with it. I think this one looks really good with them, all fancy, chain, and everything together. The one character that fit less would be Metalhead, and obviously Scrap Iron. Scrap Iron mostly has the classic Cobra colors, so he's okay for that. Other action figure line that I've been using with my Joes are the Tracksuit Mafia characters from Marvel Legends. I think that they fit with the Crimson Guards or even as small-time thugs with either the Crimson Guards or the Iron Grenadiers. I think that they look great with them, and obviously I've been using spare heads that I've got from Marvel Legends which fit perfectly on them, including the 3 original heads that they had. So they had this one, the mask head. They had the Russian guy's head. They had this other guy who was also a main player in the Hawkeye series, and I've been using my extra Wolverine head, Logan head, a spare Peter Parker head from one of the Spider-Man, I don't know which one, and finally an extra head that I've got from Arcade. Now this one looks a bit crazy, but I think he looked good with the rest of them. You can use your Tracksuit Mafia with G.I Joe, with Marvel Legends, but if you use them with your Joes, they could be part of the Crimson Guard, small-time thugs, or they could even be paid for by the Dreadnoks or something like that. They're just like corner guys, players. They could even work with Astoria, Chameleon, if you want to start bringing her in the mythos. This could be Chameleon's people that work with her. So they also wear uniforms. All of them don't wear masks. So this is how you could be using the Tracksuit Mafias. I really like those characters. I don't think that we have enough thugs and army building characters in Marvel Legends. And I like the fact that they fit so well with the Joes. And we always have extra Marvel Legends heads. And this is where they all fit. They all look good. So this is me using the Tracksuit Mafia action figures, which I've always liked. The moment I saw them, I said I need a lot of them.
There's always been female Cobra troopers. Well, in the cartoon at least. We've seen them in the first season of the G.I Joe cartoon way back. Some of them were even romantically tied with Destro. Some of them worked with the Baroness. I believe some were released in the 2010s, but in the G.I Joe Classified, they were given a name. They were called the Valkyries. Now, whether you want the Valkyries to be part of a personal army for the Baroness or just the female versions of Cobra, they don't all have to be related to the Baroness. They could be just female recruits. I've got 2 female His Gunners and I've got 2 Ferret drivers. They're all female too, but they're not part of this army of Valkyries, although they're related. So for the Valkyries, I've got about 10 of them. We have the Valkyrie officers, the regular Valkyries, and we've got a few of them who wear a gas mask. They're probably flamethrower or special troops. Now, when Cobra recruits, they also recruit women, and that's why we have Valkyries. For some reason, they create their own corps for the Valkyries as opposed to mix and matching them with the regular guys. But of course, don't take those female Cobra troopers for granted. They're as tough as the guys, and that's why they're called the Valkyries. You don't call them Valkyries if you don't trust that they're gonna kick your ass. Of my troop building series, the Valkyries are some of my favorite because they're unique, because they look tough, but they also look like classic Cobra characters. Hopefully, we'll get retro Valkyries also, and we can troop build them. In terms of numbers, like I mentioned, I've got 10 of them, which is a far cry from the total number of Cobra troopers or even Vipers, and that's okay. We don't need more Valkyries than that. Why? Because Cobra doesn't recruit as many women as guys, and in the military, there are not as many women as guys anyway. Like I mentioned, if I've got 10 Valkyries, that means I probably got 10 times that amount in the real world. Like that would be 1,000 Valkyries, and I will say that's probably small for Cobra, but there's other type of troops where they also have women. Now, what I would like to see are female Tele-Vipers and even female Techno Vipers. Those would be good. In terms of build, I think the Valkyries are some of the best Cobra classified figures. They can even hold their backpack and not topple like the Vipers. The helmets don't stay on easily on their heads. Just one of them stays on. The one for the officers do not stay on easily. They just fall off. So far, I keep them a bit separate from the other Cobra troops, but I don't know if maybe I should just mix and match them with my regular Cobra troops as mixed units, or just gender separated units? I don't know yet. Why not just add a few of them with the regular Cobra troops and maybe have some all female units? I mean, I've got enough of them to do that, to pull that off. It is a golden age when you can army build and have female version of your male characters, Caucasian, black, and so on. So you can have a lot of diversity in your army building. This is incredible and this is fun. That's what army building is for. And I'm glad that the G.I Joe Classified team is running with that and making it possible.
Well, thank you for watching this series on army building. But before we go, let me show you some of my ninjas. I didn't want to change my display. You can see my Night Creepers here along with my Tracksuit Mafia. I've got blue ninjas here, several versions of Storm Shadow. And I've got Frush ninjas here. Most of them are red. This guy here was my first version of Storm Shadow before he was released. So I got the Frush version and I even put a sticker on him. He's now my stand-in for Billy Kessler. Billy Kessler being the son of Cobra Commander. So you can see all of those red and blue ninjas in the back, female and male. I've got more female blue ninjas, but they're in other displays. You've got the movie Storm Shadow here. And here we can see how I've decided to display all of those Tracksuit Mafia. So they're in the edge between the regular Cobra bad guys, various troops, and the ninjas. I put them on the edge like that, and maybe Chameleon will join them pretty soon. So this is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filming since 2002. Like and subscribe.